Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to find how to create a box plot, both skeletal and modified for different types of data. So we're going to relook at this data we've had from earlier problems, which is about the percentage of the population with a bachelor's degree or higher in each state, including the District of Columbia. Um, our data is kind of already broken up for us. We've got our Q1, which is Q1 which is 24, and that's this one right here. So that's the median of the lower half of data. Our median is 26. Our Q3 is going to be 30. You can see that from here. Our minimum and our max are also important. Um, Minimum is going to be 17, and our max is going to be 47. So this is just going to be a skeletal box plot, so we're not accounting for outliers at all. So all the information that we have here is what we need. So we're going to draw this out. We're going to start with 15 since our minimum is 17. We'll go to 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and 50. So what we need to do is we need to make a line for each of these. Um, or excuse me, we need to make a line for each of these, and then we're going to connect them to our min and max. So Q1 is at 24, so we'll say that's about right here. Our median is at 26, so let's say it's about right here. Our Q3 is 30, that's easy, and this is our box. So again, we've got our median, our Q1, our Q3, and we need to draw lines out to our mins and maxes. So our max is at 47, so we are all the way over here, and our minimum is at 17, so we are all the way back here. Now that's a skeletal box plot, um, and there's nothing more to it. Now the downfall of this is that it doesn't really explain um, the center and the concentration of data outside of our quartiles. So uh, the next example that we do is going to account for those, and it's going to show us how we find outliers for data from now on, what we consider an outlier. If we go to this next example, it's talking about Big Mac prices in different countries. Um, what you'd want to do if you have a bunch of data and you don't have that information already available to you, you're going to first start out and you're going to go to Stats and Edit, and then you're going to enter data into list 1. Now, once you put all the data into list 1, you're going to then follow the following steps. Once you get back to home screen, so you're going to say, oops, you're going to do Stats, Calc, 1 var, Stats. And this is all calculator commands. And once you do that, you're going to get a whole bunch of information. You're going to get your minimum, you're going to get your median, your maximum, your uh, different quartiles, and everything that you need there. Um, so the main information you're going to want to look at is your lower quartile and your upper quartile, because that will allow you to find what your interquartile range is going to be. So the interquartile range is going to be used for finding our outliers and identifying those. So we first have to take this number and multiply it by 1.5, because our definition of an outlier is that it's got to be 1.5. Basically, if you think about it this way, an outlier has got to be more than 1.5 IQRs away from the first quartile and or below the first quartile, or 1.5 IQRs away from the third on the upper end. So we need that number. We need to know what 1.5 of our interquartile range is in order to identify our outliers. So if we do 1.5 times 1.510, this should be, let's see, 1.510 plus 0.755. So that is going to give us 1.5 IQRs would be 2.265. So this is our magic number. So 1.5 IQRs equals this. So we're going to keep this in mind as we look at our data. So a low outlier is going to be this number, 2.265, below our lower quartile. So we would be 2.335 minus 2.265, which that is going to equal 0.07. So 0.07. So unless we have a Big Mac that is less than 7 cents in a country, which I would doubt that ever to happen, but that would be pretty awesome, I guess, then it's not going to be a low outlier. So if we look for high outliers, so ones that are drastically more expensive than others, we're going to take our upper quartile, which is 3.845, and we are going to add 2.265 to that. So 2.265. Now this should get us up to, let's see here, let's be 7 point, um, or actually, what am I talking about? This is 6.110. Okay, sorry, just fumbling around there for a second. So anything that's above anything that's at or above 6.110, we're going to consider a high outlier. So we need to go forth and identify those if we can. So if we're above $6.11, then we are a high outlier. So I'll mark those with red. Let's see, we've got 1, we've got 2, and that's all. So we've got 2 outliers that are high outliers here. So we need to go ahead and construct our plot. And we are going to go by 1. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Maybe a little bit more because we need that little extra space. So just like in the last example, we're going to find our median. Our median's a little over 3. I don't have that number right in front of me, but you would find that if you did your one variable stats. So that's going to be right here. Okay, so that is our median. We then want to get our lower and upper quartiles. So we've got our lower quartile is at 2.335. So we'll put that about here. And then our upper quartile is at 3.845. So we'll put that at about here. And again, we've got median, quartile 1, quartile 3. Then we want to graph out to our lowest and highest observations that are not outliers. Okay, so make sure we're not including the outliers in this. Now we don't have any lows because we don't have any observations below 7 cents. So we are going to graph all the way down to our lowest outlier, or our lowest number, which if we look at our lowest number here, 172, 1.7. So 1.7 is our lowest. And so that's roughly about this point right here. Then we go graph to our highest point that is not an outlier. So again, non-outlier. So the highest below 6.39. So let's see if we got any other sixes in here. We don't. Any high fives? Looks like 589 would be our highest outside of that. So we're going to go to 589, and that will be right about there. So this is our highest non-outlier, is right there. Now we need to circle the other two observations to show that they're still in the data set, but they are outliers. So we've got 6.39, so we'll say that's about here. And we've got 703, which is right here. So that's how you deal with constructing a modified box plot. So you've got to make sure that you are taking into account a lot more here. You've got to figure out what 1.5 of your interquartile range is going to be. You need to add that to your Q3 to figure out where your cutoff is going to be. Then you need to also subtract that from your Q1 to figure out what your lower cutoff is going to be. And then you construct your normal box plot from there. Then you add on any extra observations that you had. So these two had to be added on in the end.